Listen, I'm one of those guys who thought the manager probably needed to go after the season that he had. But at the end of the day, the manager is here. Ten Hag is here, and it is what it is. And I just hope and I pray that Ten Hag turns it around, starts playing some football that we all want to see rather than this crazy transition football where we leave a big hole in the middle where Casemiro's left by himself to marshal a whole midfield while Bruno and Mason Mount are just there as strikers. I don't want to see that anymore. Live people, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time coming. We are done with the Euros. We are done with international football, and the tribalism, the banter of the Premier League, of league football is back, people. It is back. It's your boy Chosen Wizdom, and I am happy to be back watching Manchester United rather than England. It's good. It's good. Listen, this is a pre-season fixture that is never really a pre-season fixture. Banting rights or banter rights. Listen, it's a real thing. Yes, it's a friendly, but we want to win. And based on the squad that United have brought to this tournament, to these pre-season fixtures, to America, I kind of expect Manchester United to win this game. I do. I really do. Smash a like, people. Turn on your notifications. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed below. This is a brand new channel where we try to say what we see and not just how we feel. Listen, there's way too much bias and agendas in football, from the media to the pundits to even the fans. So I try to be as objective as I can, and I have a certain way of seeing football, just like I'm sure you guys have a certain way of seeing football, but I prefer technical ability over pace and power all day, every day. I understand in the Premier League you need pace, you do need power, but that shouldn't be at the cost of technical ability. It should not be just an athlete's game. Where are the footballers? Where are they? We will find out. Listen, there is about 40 minutes before kickoff. It's been a while since I've done a Manchester United video or Man United watch along, and boy, has there been a lot going on. Let's be honest, guys. If you're INEOS out, INEOS in, you didn't like him, you were pessimistic, skeptical, optimistic, whatever, you have to at least admit that INEOS are doing some shit. They're doing some shit. They are. They're doing some shit. And you got to hold your hand up and say, okay, so far, so good. Listen, I'm one of those guys who thought the manager probably needed to go after the season that he had. But at the end of the day, the manager is here. Ten Hag is here, and it is what it is. And I just hope and I pray that Ten Hag turns it around, starts playing some football that we all want to see rather than this crazy transition football where we leave a big hole in the middle where Casemiro's left by himself to marshal a whole midfield while Bruno and Mason Mount are just there as strikers. I don't want to see that anymore. Let's go back to some sort of double pivot like most teams play, and let's be hard to beat. Listen, like I said, there's 40 minutes to kick off, and there is a lot we can talk about. We are going to talk about, and I really want to talk about this, the transfers in. The transfers that have actually come into the club. The two, of course, Lenny Euro and Joshua Zirkzee. I'm going to talk about those two official transfers and what I think that means for the Man United going forward. The potential transfers, because as you can hear and as you can see, United are being linked with every Tom, dog, cat and mouse. So we're going to discuss ugarte, discuss Dillit, talk about Matsurawi, and also this Branthwaite thing. Because these are the kind of transfers that we've been linked with kind of for the past, let's say, month at least. Who I want. We're going to talk about who I want to come in. And personally, I like Fofana. I like Zubamendi. My gosh, if we get Zubamendi, I will lose my mind. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to be acting a fool. I promise. My opinion, the fullback that we should really get or go for is Kodioglu, the Turkish one. He had a good Euros. And listen, the fact that he can play left back and right back, for me, listen, we have to go and get him. I don't know why we're trying to go for this Matsurawi guy. I would prefer Kodioglu. We're going to talk about that as well in the next 40 minutes before kickoff. The possible transfers out of the club. There's been rumours. Listen, the media are going crazy about this Sancho thing. I don't think Sancho is going anywhere. I think United could have done with someone like Jadon Sancho last season, playing Garnacho for 40 games, having Anthony on the right-hand side. Imagine if just we had this Jadon just to come on the bench for 10 minutes to try to unlock a defence. It will be very silly, especially with the fact that United are trying to play a more possession-based football. And we know, in terms of technical ability and keeping the ball, that is what Jadon can do. He's not someone who's blessed with incredible pace. He isn't. But he is technical and he can keep the ball and he can play against a low block. Keep rotating the ball. Garnacho, he had a breakthrough season, but for me, his technical ability is not quite up there. He's similar to Rashford in the sense that he runs into blind alleys, he makes bad decisions, he tries to take on his man all the time, and sometimes you got to know when to take on your man and when to keep the ball, right? So we're going to talk about Sancho potentially going out. I don't believe it, but we're going to talk about it. McTominay, we're going to talk about McTominay. In my opinion, I think he does need to leave, but we'll discuss that. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, there is news all for the past 2-3 weeks from the likes of West Ham, and also recently Inter Milan are interested in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Casemiro, Eriksen, Anthony, I don't know how many of those are going to leave, but we're going to discuss that as well. There's one thing I also want to talk about, guys, is Rasmus Hojlund, the season that he's had last season, the Euros that he's had, and also the fact that he's been given the number 9 shirt. How do you feel about that? What has he done in his football career to be given that shirt? I want to know. Let me know. What has he done so far in his United career to deserve that shirt? I don't know. Let me know, but we're going to talk about that. We are. Listen, many people think Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to come in and absolutely transform some of our attacking players. Let me tell you something, guys. If you're age 27 and you don't have certain fundamentals, no coach is going to teach you those fundamentals. Listen, most footballers have been playing football since the age of 2 or 3, right? So if you're 20 or 21 years old and you don't have certain fundamentals, it's very difficult for a coach to teach you those. Some coaches are, some players actually, who are so instinctive in the way that they play football, they don't even know how they do some of the things that they do. So how do you coach certain things out of a player and into a player? Fundamentals that they don't have already. And there's a lot of, for me, there are some fundamentals that Hojlund doesn't have. And I think we put too much into coaching when it comes to making an individual better, making the individual quality. Listen, whether you're Henry, whether you're Van Persie, whether you're the real R9, whether you're Ronaldinho, whether you're Christian Vieri, whether you're Hernan Crespo, or any of the great strikers, at the age of 18, they were all Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney. At the age of 18, they were already gunmen. They already had the fundamentals. They didn't need to improve on the fundamentals. They needed to refine their game. Let me tell you something, guys. We're going to talk about R9 getting the number 9 shirt. As I've said, discuss INEOS and their transfer dealings. Whether you hate INEOS or like INEOS, whether you wanted the Qataris to take full ownership of the club, INEOS are here and INEOS are making moves. Also, there's one thing else I want to talk about. I think we need to talk about Kobbie Mainoo. Because for me, Kobbie Mainoo, after the Euros he's had, after the season he's had, he should be star boy. He is a homegrown talent from the academy. But I don't see him in the media. I don't see his shirt number being sold. I don't see him being promoted the way that Garnacho and Hojlund, who are not homegrown talents, who are not Manchester lads, those guys are getting pushed to the moon and being pushed into our heads, even though they both didn't really have. Yes, it was Garnacho's breakout season and he had 1 or 2 decent games, but overall, he didn't really have a great season, in my opinion. And these sort of players are being pushed down our throats. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. The one star boy out of all of these young players is Kobbie. But yeah, I don't see him. I don't see the PR around him. We're going to talk about media brainwashing and how the media gets us to hate some players, SANCHO, for instance, and how they get us to worship some players that, in my opinion, do not deserve, haven't done anything in football to even deserve the worship. Listen, there's a lot I want to get off my chest. There's a lot I want to talk about before the game kicks off. And to top it off, I think we need to have a quick discussion about Amad freaking Diallo. All season, I've been saying, start this guy. Start this guy. He's done enough. He's done his dog work. He's been in the trenches at Sunderland. He's passed the test. In my opinion, he's probably the best winger we have at the club. And yet this manager refused to play him for large parts of the season, even though he was fit from December. We're going to talk about Amad. In my opinion, the right-hand side is Amad's. It's Amad. If you disagree, I want to know why. Why? Literally. So yeah, there's a lot I want to say, guys. A lot. So let's get into it. Kickoff is in, let me see, 30 minutes. So we got 30 minutes to kick off today. Transfers in. Leny Yoro. Listen, I think most United fans, if we're going to be honest, were surprised in the fact that we got this player. We did bid higher than Madrid bidded. Yes. And a lot of, rival fans are saying the reason why he's here is because we promised him this and we promised him that and we paid over the odds. Listen, the guy could have said no. The guy could have waited out another year. He could have done so many things to join Madrid, but we came in and he said, you know what? I want to go to Manchester United. So whatever way you look at this, this is a good signing. This is a good thing. Publicly, in terms of PR, it's a good thing. And I heard that Barada himself, the CEO of Manchester United, was instrumental in sealing this deal. Nobody thought that we were going to get Euro, and Euro was our number one signing in defence. It was. The money that United had for De Ligt, they really, really wanted to get Euro. We didn't really think we were going to get him. Hence why, and this is one thing I think INEOS are doing really well. INEOS are talking to multiple people. They are agreeing terms with multiple people, individual terms, to know where they stand and where they can go. And then, after agreeing individual terms with, like, let's say 10 players, they go into the clubs and saying, hey, this is how much we're going to pay for the player. Will you accept it? And it's a different type of negotiation. Remember going after, what's that Barcelona guy, Frankie de Jong. This guy said, no. We didn't agree personal terms with him. He didn't want to come, but yet we kept pushing. And we looked like desperate guys after a rave trying to get gal. Like, that's not how you negotiate. So I like the fact that United now are seeming like they're doing things properly. In terms of Leny Yoro, listen, he's played one preseason game. And based on that one preseason game, and I've seen matches from him as well, he's tall, He's athletic. He's got recovery pace. For someone who's 18, he's got a good footballing brain. He plays football beyond his years. A lot of people say because he's 18 years old, he cannot start for Manchester United. Defenders need to be 21 and 22, need to have experience. Defenders he'll get muscled out in the Premier League. Listen, based on what I've seen from this guy, he has the profile of a Premier League footballer. And one thing that I think is very underrated, not only does he read the game very well and get himself in very good positions, he's actually a good distributor from the back. So last season where we had no Martinez and we had Varane. Varane is a very, very good defender. But one thing that Lenny Euro has over Varane is his recovery pace. And in the Premier League, even though I talk about pace and power, you do need that recovery pace. This kid has been touted for a very long time now, a year or so, as the next best thing in defence. That's how good he is. And I know United spent £43 million for him, around 50, 60 million euros. And a lot of people say that's quite high. But one, it's not really quite high. It's not really. Let's be honest. And two, that money has been paid over 4 or 5 years. So the outlay for United is not as big. And personally, I don't even know when fans decided to care so much about money that's not theirs. I remember back in the day when we were linked to Rooney and linked to Rio Ferdinand, and we were spending £30 million on Rooney and £30 million on Rio like 15 years ago or whatever. Nobody was talking about the money and how expensive he was and all of these things. We didn't care. But all of a sudden, it seems as if that's all we talk about. And it's very, very interesting. So I think Lenny Euro will play alongside Martinez at the back. I don't think he's here because we're going to play him on the bench. I think one of the reasons why he did come is because we must have promised him a good amount of game time. And based on what I've seen from Maguire, Lindelof, and Evans, who's a granddad, I think this guy will start more games than people think. And I think, as I've said before, because he's 18-year-olds and he's actually he's playing football beyond his years. Watch this guy. I think he will surprise a lot of people. I hope he does. I hope he has a good season. Joshua Zirkzee. Once again, United have got their number 1 defensive target. And they've got the number 1 attacking target. We wanted Joshua Zirkzee. And we got him. And not only did we get him, we got him for relatively cheap. I believe it was around 34 million. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think it was about 34 million pounds for him. And once again, I think that's structured over a number of years. The one thing I can say about Joshua Zirkzee is that he's not a traditional number 9. He is the Martial replacement. I'm not saying he's as technical as Martial. I'm not saying he's as good as Martial. I'm talking about the profile of the player. He is that guy who drops deep. He has the technical ability to hold the ball up, bring others into play, the skill to also beat a man and take a man on. His spatial awareness is quite good. His footballing IQ is also quite good. And he can score. He's not a natural finisher. He's not a natural striker. But if we want to play a game that is more possession based and less hit and run football like we did last season, this transition football, we want to be the best. Listen, if you want to be the best transition team, play your best players. Play your most technical players. Because you know what? Being a transition team is not just about how quick you are and how quick you run. It's about this and technicality. And that's it. Man City are a good transition team. But they, apart from Doku, they don't really have much pace on the wings. And yet, they won the Premier League. I think pace and power is overrated. And I'm looking forward to see what Joshua Zirkzee does. In my opinion, the team I would play, I would start Joshua Zirkzee. The issue, I guess, with starting Joshua Zirkzee, dropping in the middle, link and play like he does, is that you need runners on the wings that run beyond him, the way that Martial played with Mason Greenwood and Rashford in that amazing... Listen, say what you want about Ollie, yeah? That season with Martial up top, that breakthrough season for him, Rashford on the left, Greenwood on the right, Martial dropping deep, and Greenwood and Rashford running up beyond him to score goals. That is what I want to see with Zirkzee. Which means, in my opinion, you could start Ahmad on the right and Rashford on the left. But we'll get into that later on in the video. But Joshua Zirkzee, number one attacking target, bang, in the bank. Lenny Euro, number one defensive target, bang, in the bank. You can't argue. You can't say, what else do you want? Yes, we could potentially get more in, and we will get more in. And yes, we will talk about that now. But in terms of business and being, I think we're the only club that got 2 signings in, 2 of our main targets in already. Great business. I'm loving it. And the potential targets for me, Ugarte. Let's start with Ugarte. Ugarte doesn't blow me away in terms of signing. I think we do need that profile of player because we let Fred go. Why we let Fred go and we kept McTominay? Probably because nobody wanted McTominay. I'm joking. People do want McTominay, but the fee that we wanted for McTominay is quite high. More than a lot of clubs are willing to pay. So I guess that's why we let Fred go. We need that energy. Casemiro was never really that guy. Casemiro is someone who, especially for Madrid, he didn't pick the ball up from the back. Modric and Kroos did that. He's a shuttle. He's a guy who covered the space, made the tackles in a midfield 3 that was tight, that was also quite rigid, but also quite open at the same time, if you know what I mean. Casemiro's first season, amazing first season, arguably our player of the year. However, since this formation changed, he has been exposed. I think what Ugarte would bring is just those legs. Yes, he is technically sound. I don't think he's amazing technically, but he's very, very aggressive. He's a very aggressive player. He gets around the pitch a lot, maybe not too positionally disciplined, which is why I'm not blown away by Ugarte. I understand that we need that profile of player because currently we don't have that profile of player. And in the Premier League, he could be a Kante type. I'm not saying he's as good as Kante. He could be a Kante type footballer. That my issue with Ugarte, obviously, is the fact that he cannot play a lone 6. And for me, if I had the choice of Ugarte or someone like Zubamendi, I would get Zubamendi all day because I don't think United have that player, have that Michael Carrick player that takes the ball up from the back 4 and left, right, both feet. Keep it ticking. Keep the ball ticking. If you want to play possession football, you're going to need that guy, that number 6 that plays at the base, that can move and pass the ball. That's not Ugarte. That's not Ugarte's profile, and that's just not him. So while I appreciate... Sorry, guys, I think my screen has frozen at the moment and screen back, but hopefully you can still hear me. So yeah, the thing with Ugarte is that he's not that type of player. He isn't. So I understand why we want to get him, but I'm not somebody who's overly enthusiastic or overly crazy about Ugarte. I'm sorry, guys, we're working to get the screen up and running at the moment, trying to find out what is going on with this camera and why it has frozen. And we are back. Woo! Technology. It's always trying to defeat me, but it can't win. Technology can't win. I will win. All right, delete. Let's talk about delete quickly. All right. I think the delete money was spent on Zirkzee. I don't think we are going to get delete anymore. There's news that he's going to Madrid now. Bayern Munich are very fixed on the fee that they want for the player, and Manchester United will just not pay that fee, which is such a blessing. It's so good to hear United say, "Suck your mother." No, I'm joking. It's so good to say, like, to see United say, "Listen, we're not going to be taken for fools anymore. You're not going to demand flipping 50 million pounds for this player, and we're not going to pay it." United back in the day under Murto would have paid the money. De Ligt has had 2, 3 now major transfers in his career, and he hasn't really. He's played okay. He's had a few injuries, but he hasn't really justified the hype that he had in his early careers. And I'm not saying that he can't still come good. I'm not saying he can't still play well for Manchester United. But I'm just happy that we're not going to be taken to cleaners with regard to De Ligt. I do like De Ligt. I think he'll be okay for United. I think he'll be good for us. However, if you're going to ask me out of De Ligt or Branthwaite, for some reason, I don't know why, I would pick Branthwaite. I would pick Branthwaite over De Ligt because he's had a season or two in the Premier League already, so he's acclimatized to it. I think he's a bit younger than De Ligt, and I think Branthwaite is more versatile than De Ligt. Branthwaite can play in the middle, at the back, of course, and on the left. And one thing for sure with this Manchester United squad is that the left-hand side is dead out. Both Luke Shaw and Malacia, our 2 left backs, were dead last season. Neither of them played the game. They were practically injured the whole season to the point where Dalot had to play left back. We need a fullback. We do need a fullback. And if we had got Branthwaite, or if we still could get Branthwaite, I think because he can cover that left centre back position and that left back position when need be, I think he will be a better signing for me. In terms of their football abilities and their abilities as defenders, Branthwaite has got a mistake or two in him, but so has De Ligt. So I don't think there is. I think De Ligt probably has, can play with the ball better. He's a better natural footballer than Branthwaite, but Branthwaite is a good defender. So that's my take on it. In terms of this Maswari thing, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I know he's had his injury problems this season. And when I see him play, I'm not really blown away by him. I don't think he's amazing fullback. I believe he's a right back. Tell me if I'm wrong. He also plays for Bayern, but I've not really been overly impressed with him. So he's a signing that I'll be okay, cool, we've got him, but it just wouldn't blow me away. It just would not blow me away. Not every signing needs to blow you away, by the way. It's some signings can be very shrewd, and some signings can be necessary for the squad to fill a gap. And not every signing needs to be a 40, 50 million pound high profile signing. But yeah, I'm not sure with this Matchwari thing. I think it might happen. I think West Ham wanted him and he rejected West Ham. I don't know if Bayern, I think Bayern want to sell. We've gone in for De Ligt and Bayern have, outpriced him. So are they going to sell us Matsuari? I don't know if it matters. I think they probably will. But if I had the choice now, so let's talk about who I want United to sign. If I had the choice of fullbacks right now, I would pick Kodioglu. I would pick Kodioglu for, listen, when I saw this guy in the Euros, I was like, sign him now. Sign him now. The fact that this guy can play left back and right back, for me, seals the deal. One, he's technically very sound. And if you're talking about pace and power, he's got both of that. He's got both pace and power, and he can play on both sides of the defense. Like I said, left back and right back. So, you got the versatility, you got the technicality, you got the pace and the power. We've seen him play football. In my opinion, go and get this guy. I don't think we will, unfortunately, but I want Kodjoglu. Fofana has been mentioned. Fofana, Banana, Carter, Labana, Shabana. Anyway, Fofana. For me, he also fits. He's not probably as tenacious as Ugarte, but he's slightly more technically sound. He's slightly more calmer and relaxed on the ball than Ugarte. And if you wanted me to choose between Fofana and Ugarte, especially the 60 million euros or whatever it is that PSG want for Ugarte, I would say go and get Fofana. Go and get Fofana. Go and get him. Like, he's also quite strong. He's not somebody who's going to get bullied off the ball. And in the Premier League, you're going to need that sort of player. I would get Fofana and I would get Zubamendi. Listen, as I said earlier in the video, we don't have a distributor. Pogba and probably Matic were the last distributors we had from deep line midfield position. Casemiro can do it, but he's a good passer of the ball, but he's not amazing. He's not gonna do a Pogba and spray a 30-yard pass onto Rashford's feet. He's not gonna do that. I think Zubamendi in a double pivot with someone like Ugarte or Fofana would be a good midfield pair. He can pick the ball up from the back four. He's technically sound. We saw him. Listen, when I saw him come on the pitch for for Spain to replace Rodri, I was like, okay, all right. Let me see something, because either Rodri's injured, which I think he might have been, or you guys have a lot of faith in this Zubamendi guy. And I was like, okay, do you know what? Spain are actually playing better now with Zubamendi because he's passing the ball quicker. And I'm not saying he's better than Rodri. I'm not saying that, because he's not. He's slightly different to Rodri. I think he's a bit more mobile than Rodri. I still think Rodri is a better pass of the ball. But for me, if you get Zubamendi, I'll be a happy guy. I'll be very happy. 10 minutes to kick off, guys. 10 minutes to kick off. Transfers out. The possible transfers out that I can see. I've heard McTominay's name being mentioned, and I think it's time for McTominay to go. I think he's been a good servant to the football club. He's not the best or most technically gifted footballer we've seen. I'm not going to come here and just diss him, right? Because I think we can all see Scott McTominay's limitations as a footballer. He's not a DM. He can't pick the ball up from the back four and play. He's not number 6. He probably is not really a box-to-box midfielder either, because I don't think he has the passing ability, and I don't think he can play in tight spaces. I don't think he has quick enough feet to play as a 8 box-to-box. And if you play him as a number 10, once again, I don't think he has the passing ability, the spatial awareness, and the intricacy to play in that position. So he's done okay. I would have sold him maybe a couple of years ago, personally. I just think it's time for him to go. He's 27, 28 years old now, which means he's at the peak of his career. As a substitute, I think he can be useful, as we saw last season when he came on a few times, and his size, his presence, and let's say one positive. There's one positive about Scott McTominay's game. He's a decent box crasher. He can crash the box. He has the stature, the frame, the height to dominate defenders. And Scott McTominay can strike a ball really well. When Scott McTominay strikes a ball, it stays hit. It does. But I think it's time for him to seek and find regular first team football. I think he wants to play week in, week out. And if we get a good fee in from Fulham, I think Fulham's looking at him, then I would sell him. And if that's what we're waiting for in order to fund other midfield deals, then I think we need to get McTominay out as quickly as possible. Sancho, I'm going to have a quick word on Sancho. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere at all. There's a lot of pundits, a lot of the media who want to keep talking about Jadon Sancho. Personally, it's done. If the managers come out and said it's done, and the players come out and said it's done, then it's done. Why we keep talking about Jadon Sancho, especially the season that we saw him have, especially the fact that he was instrumental in bringing Dortmund to the Champions League final. Instrumental. One of the main reasons why they got to the final. He proves himself all the time. He constantly proves himself. Yes, at United, he didn't, set the world alight. He didn't. But compared to what I saw last season from the likes of Hojlund and Garnacho and Rashford and all the rest of these guys last season for United, he has not played worse than any of those guys. The shit football that I saw from some of these players last season when we were beaten 4-0 by Crystal Palace and all of these crap game after... The thing is, we got short memories. Game after game after game, we saw the worst football we've seen. And the FA Cup final win has totally made us forget about what we saw. Jadon would not have been any worse than any of those guys. He would not have. There's a lot of hate for this guy, and he's going to get the Pogba treatment. I can feel it. We can all see it. Whenever United lose, there's going to be a picture of Sancho, even though he's not playing. And if Sancho scores a winning goal and Man United win, it will be because of some other... he's not going to get the PR that he deserves, even if he does pull things around. I believe that. PR is such a dangerous thing in football. I don't think... Even if PSG, for instance, are interested in Jadon, which they might be. Apparently today we saw that Barcelona are interested in Jadon. But let's think about that for a second. Let's just think about what that means. PSG and Barcelona have never been in for any of our players, but they're in for Sancho. Does that, if you hate Sancho, does that not get into your head how good he is that Barcelona and PSG are after him and they're not after any of our players? The way that people will just mentally manipulate certain things just to hate this kid is very, very strange. Very strange. Let's get behind Sancho this season. If he stays, let's get behind him. If he doesn't stay, so be it. So be it. But I think he will stay. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is another one. 5 minutes ago, guys, that is being linked to West Ham. I like Aaron. I really do. However, I think it's time for him to leave. Aaron, physically, in terms of athletic abilities, his ability to slide tackle, his ability to recover, his recovery pace, and all of these things, very good. He's off. I wouldn't say always off the ball work, but a lot of his off the ball work is very good. It's just his technical ability is not that great, guys. When you want a fullback to cross the ball in, when you want a fullback to pull the ball back, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. And that's the problem with Aaron. If we want to play the football we want to play, this possession based, we want to keep the ball, not just play on the transition, but keep the ball, rotate the ball, do what Man City and Arsenal do, pin teams back. If there's no space, if there's no opening, don't just garnacho run into a player and lose the ball. Just pass it back to the defender, pass it back to the midfielder, and we go again. We rotate the ball. If we want to play that style of football as well, then we can't have Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the team. I'm sorry. I just don't think he has the technical ability to play fullback for Manchester United. I really don't. So he's been a good servant. I think attackers can get in behind him when attacking teams deliver crosses. He's been caught a few times not paying attention. So I think his concentration when defending can go lapse, especially off the ball defending. His concentration can go lapse. I like Aaron, but I can be constructive with my criticism for Aaron, and I think it's time for him to leave the club personally. So if West Ham come in 20 million, 21 million, I think United should take that deal. Casemiro, listen, there was a lot of talk about Casemiro leaving before the preseason started to Saudi, and I think that's cooled down. I think the wages that Casemiro is on, United probably would want to listen to offers, but I don't think a lot of offers will come in for Casemiro because of his age and because he didn't really have a great season last season. Even I can admit that, even though I like Casemiro. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Eriksen, I don't think he can play as a holding midfielder anymore. He doesn't have the legs. We saw at the end of last season, he didn't have the legs anymore. He didn't have the legs anymore, Eriksen. And you wouldn't even play him box to box. So you wouldn't really play Eriksen as an 8 because you probably need even more legs to play that position. Potentially play Eriksen as a number 10, but then where would you play Kobe? Where would you play Bruno? I think, once again, Eriksen, I think he should leave. If an offer comes in, I think United will sell. I don't know if an offer will come in. I don't know. I think it's time for him to leave. Anthony, now I'm somebody who's willing to give Anthony another season. However, once again, if an offer does come in for Anthony, which I don't think it will, because he hasn't had a good season, so why would an offer come in? And £80 million we spent on this player. Let me just think about it. £80 million for Anthony. I don't hate Anthony, but come on, like, he has not lived up to the price tag at all. And sometimes you can't even like blame a player because the price tag isn't their fault. But he just isn't good enough. His end product just isn't there for me. And if, God's willing, somebody came in for him, I think we should sell. But once again, I don't think Anthony is going anywhere, which means we're going to have 5 wingers in our squad this season. Anthony, Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford. Wait, that's 4. Who am I missing? Sancho. Yes, 5 wingers. So there's going to be there's going to be a few players, 1 or 2 players sitting on the bench for a decent period of time. It could be Anthony. It could be Anthony. What else did I say I was going to discuss today? Rasmus Hojlund. Very quickly before the game is starting, the players are now lining up or about to line up in the tunnel. So the game will kick off, I reckon, in about 1 or 2 minutes. But Rasmus Hojlund and the number 9 shirt. Okay, I hate propaganda. I hate brainwashing. I don't like the media. I really don't. The media are just basically a lot of rich, elite, private school people who safeguard information. They think they protect information. They give us information when they want to give us information, and they'll give us the information in a certain way to suit their agendas. I don't like the media, right? I don't like this push of Rasmus Hojlund. Before Hojlund came to the club, he scored 8 goals or 9 goals for Atlanta. Hojlund has never been a prolific goal scorer any time in his life, anywhere that he's ever been, ever. He's not scored more than like 10 or 11 goals anywhere, ever, in his whole career. He's 21 years old. So we can clearly see he's not a goal scorer. He's not a natural goal scorer. He is not. When he came to United last season, the season that he had, and I know that we all saw a season where, to be honest, there are not many players, apart from maybe Kobe Manu, who can say they had a good season, right? But apart from scoring, I think, 7 goals in like 2 or 3 games in the Champions League, he was woeful. He can't hold the ball up. He cannot do it. The ball gets stuck under his feet a lot because of his technical ability or lack of it. His decision making is very bad. His positioning is very bad. He doesn't have the IQ of a natural striker. He doesn't. I don't think he's good at heading the ball. He needs a lot of space to shoot. He's not good with tight spaces. He isn't. For me, there are too many fundamental things that are wrong with Rasmus Hojlund's game for someone like Ruud van Nistelrooy to come in and completely transform the way he plays football. He's not going to improve a lot of these fundamentals. He's not. What coaching does is refine what you currently have. That's what it does. It doesn't give you something you don't have already. I think coaching individually is overrated, and I do not think Rasmus Hojlund. Let's be honest, guys. This is a channel where we say what we see, not how we feel, and we're honest right here. I don't think Hojlund has done enough to be given the number 9 shirt. However, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not. It is what it is. I hope he has a good season for us, because if he has a good season, we have a good season, then we're all happy, because we're all United fans. And that's the main thing. That's the underlying thing. Even though I might have my objective opinion on all of these players, in the end, and at the end of the day, we all want them to play well. I just don't think he's that good. He had a poor Euros as well for Denmark. And yeah, I think we're about a minute or two from kickoff. In terms of INEOS, guys, let's quickly mention INEOS. Whether you hate INEOS, whether you like INEOS, they're doing all right, man. You can't hate what they're doing. They said they're going to come in and change the whole system, change the hierarchy, restructure the club, put footballing people in charge, and that is what they've done. From Wilcox to Ashworth to Barada to Ruud, now our number 2. They've completely restructured the damn thing and put footballing people, not bankers. They fucked the bankers off, and they put footballing people in charge. And that is what I like. And that is why we're seeing the deals that we're seeing. We're seeing the structure of the deals that we're seeing. Listen, I'm not going to get too gassed. Yeah, on what I've seen, on what INEOS are doing, should I say. But so far, so good. You can only comment on what you're seeing. You can only say what you see. And what I see is now competence. Sorry. And it's something that we couldn't say under the Glazers and the Glazers structure. Transfer dealings, we do need more ins. And we do now need to start seeing some outs. We do now need to start shifting some players. Lindelofs, Ericssons, if you can. Maybe the Antonys, if you can. The Aaron Wan-Bissakas. Scott McTominay. As long as you got a replacement for McTominay, which I think, ugarte might be. McTominay. We do need to start seeing some outs as well. So, INEOS, I got nothing negative to say until they do something negative. Kobe. Let's have a quick mention about Kobe. Listen, like I said at the beginning of the stream, Kobe Mainoo is a Manchester United player. He's a Manchester lad from the academy. And if you had to choose one player last season, one player that played well most of the time for 90 minutes, not just 5 minutes and scoring a goal and then going missing, Kobe Mainoo would be that guy. Homegrown talent. Great footballer, great technical ability, great control, can play in tight spaces. For me, more of a number 10, maybe a number 8, but definitely more of a number 10 than a number 6. And I think he should be the guy that we see in the media. He should be the guy that we see being posted on Man United Instagram, posted on Man United Twitter. He should be. But you know why he's not? His face does not fit. Instead, we get Garnacho and Rasmus Hojlund shoved down our throats, even though they're playing shit, even though Hojlund scored about 11 goals and didn't have a great season. We get these players shoved down our throats. Ahmad and Kobe are the star boys of this team. You don't see no Ahmad propaganda. You don't see no Ahmad shirts. You don't see the Twitter accounts and all the PR around Ahmad. You don't see it. Even though he is a star boy. Kobe, like I said, he's Manchester homegrown. Homegrown. Garnacho isn't homegrown. Rasmus isn't homegrown. But yes, these Aryans. No, let me be real. These Aryans are the ones that are pushed down our throat. I want to know why you guys think that is. Comment below. Why isn't the actual star boy, Kobe, the... What happened to Mason Mount and the number 7 shirt? What happened? What happened? Listen, this is why we need to say what we see and not how we feel. Because the whole point of PR is to generate feeling. Whenever Man United win, post Garnacho and Rasmus Hojlund. Post them, smiling and celebrating. We hated Pogba's haircuts, apparently, and his dyes in his hair. But not when it's Garnacho. When it's Garnacho, we all want Garnacho's hair color. We all want Garnacho's hairstyle. We love Garnacho's hair. Listen, do not be a fool. Do not be so easily brainwashed by the club. Yes, you can like whatever player you like, and everyone's got their own mind. But just look at the PR. Look at what United post. Just understand what they're trying to do to you and to your brain when it comes to certain players. When we win, they will show certain players, and when we lose, they will also show certain players. Just all I'm saying is just pay attention, people. Just pay attention. For me, this is Ahmad's season. For me, this is Ahmad's season. I would play Kobe further forward as a number 10. If I'd love to get Zubimendi, I'll play Zubimendi and maybe Bruno, Zubimendi or Ugarte as the base. Kobe and Bruno interchanging as number 10s. Ahmad on the right, interchanging potentially with Garnacho and Sancho. Rashford on the left, interchanging with Sancho and Garnacho. And of course, zirkzee down the middle, but with Rasmus Hojlund, playing some games and interchanging with him. That's a team I would play. In an ideal world, I'd also like to see Ahmad and Sancho, two players who are technically sound, who can keep the ball. Listen, I'm not a United fan who hates possession football. I liked what Louis van Gaal was doing. I just don't think he had the players to finish off all of that possession. He had loads of possession. He played good possession football, but he didn't have the players to put the ball in the net. Man City are a perfect example of how to win, how to play technical possession football while still being a good counter-attacking team. You can be both. You don't need to choose. Don't allow this manager to tell you that you can choose between transition and quick football and possession football, because you can do both. So yeah, that's the kind of team I want to see really this season. I don't know if the manager is going to start Sancho, even though he said he's made up with Sancho. I still think potentially, especially if you're going to start a zirkzee, you do need somebody to run beyond the striker, and that would be Rashford. I hope Rashford has a good season. Rashford plays better when he's playing with somebody who can hold the ball up for him, like a Martial, like a what's that guy called that we had on loan, Weghorst. It's no surprise that Rashford's best seasons are seasons when he's played with a striker who can hold the ball up and feed him. Rashford is a winger that's shoot first, pass second. So he's not going to set up the striker. He cannot play with Hojlund. We've seen it last season. He wants to shoot, Hojlund wants to shoot. Neither of them want to set each other up. Right? So I think with zirkzee in, playing that Martial role, we might get a better Rashford. I hope we do. So yeah, the match is about to kick off. Ahmad and Rashford are starting the game today. We are going to be joined by an Arsenal fan. So yes, I'm a United fan, if you haven't realised that by now. And we're going to be joined with an Arsenal fan who will be watching the game with us and commenting as well, guys. So hopefully we'll get a good pre-season game today. I am looking forward to it. The clock will start once the game has kicked off, guys. Let's go. Hope you guys are. Comment, man. Smash a like if you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. If you've just joined, let me know where you are in the world. I'm in the UK right now. It is 1 o'clock in the morning to Bloodfire. Late.